Yeah. Competition Tuesday. The week's already on the way. I'm going to recap last week's game just a little bit and move on to Texas. Very proud of our whole football team and our coaching staff, the way they prepared for this game. I think we're very efficient on offense. The spread offense got off to a good start. Joe was on the money with his passes. I thought 14 guys catching the ball. We spread the ball around very well. Offensive line blocked, no sacks. Then the whole Georgia Southern, the 98 yards of total offense was a tremendous job by our staff. I thought we tackled well for the first game. We won the turnover ratio, which we all know those guys were plus 22. We were plus 2. We worked very hard on that. On special teams, Derek Stingley showed us some stuff in the return game. Cade York was 2 of 2 for field goals, 7 on 7 for extra points. So overall, I thought it was a great team effort. And obviously, we're going to face a great opponent in Texas this week on the road. It's going to be a very good challenge for our football team, but we're going to be up for it. A little bit about Texas. They're plus 2 and we're plus 2. The offense is led by Sam Ellinger, quarterback. He's a very good football player. He's a complete football player, and he does a lot of things with his feet. He does a great job with his arm. He makes some great decisions. They have an excellent scheme. They're very similar to us on offense, and he knows where to go with the football. Keontae Ingram's a big back. He's physical and he's explosive. Carlos Joseph may be the biggest and one of the best receivers we see all year. We're going to have a plan for them. They're very strong up front, have a very good scheme. On defense, they're 3-3-5. They returning 4 starters. Their linebackers are very good, and so is Caden Stearns, one of the best safeties we're going to see. Joseph Usai is number 46, is an excellent linebacker. Those guys can run and hit. They blitz a whole bunch. A zone blitz football team. They're very good at blitzing. On special teams, they have a lot of great athletes. Jake Smith's an outstanding returner. We have to know where he's at all the time. This is a very well coached, good football team. Going into Austin, Texas is going to be, we have to practice the noise this week. It's going to be a loud stadium. We're playing on the turf. We're going to get there early, get ready to go. It'll be a tremendous challenge for our football team. Any questions?
Coach, back left. What's the signature of a Todd Orlando defense, and why is he so respected amongst his peers?
Well, they blitz by protection. They blitz the run. He disguises his blitzes. These guys know what they're doing. They're good tacklers. They use their speed. I think their strength of their defenses and their linebackers and their DBs. They use them a bunch.
Hey, down in front, do you expect Sadiq and Mike Divinity to play this week?
Yes, both of them will play this week.
Hey, Coach, this is obviously not your average non-conference game. As a guy who grew up in Louisiana, can you speak to the cultures of Louisiana and Texas and all this coming together in the football game?
I remember all those comments growing up, no question. I remember that, and I remember the rivalries. And, I was at Arkansas and in the Southwest Conference then, and I know how big that is at UT. And I know the people from Louisiana, kind of rib each other from Texas and all that. So I understand all that. But you know what? It has nothing to do with it when we kick the football off. This is about the LSU Tigers playing Texas on the turf, fundamentals, taking care of the football, and playing our type of football.
So you mentioned that Divinity's going to be back. You talked a lot about Damone Clark during camp, and he had a very good game 1. So now you have Divinity, Clark, Phillips, Queen. What's the plan for those guys? How do you work them all in?
We're going to go through the week, see what happens. Obviously we're going to work Michael back in. We think Michael's an excellent linebacker for us and also can play out the line of scrimmage sometimes when we need him. We're going to see how we can work those guys in. Maybe a first down situation for somebody else, a third down situation for somebody else, and play all 4 of them in equal snaps. They deserve it.
And you talked about how similar your teams are offensively. The one thing that stood out to me was the pass play to Terrace in the south end zone where you throw it behind the line of scrimmage and you block downfield. Is that something when you saw that being allowed in college football, you're like, we got to take advantage of this? And, and what are your thoughts as a defensive guy trying to stop offenses that have that advantage?
It's very tough to stop it on defense. We try to stop it every day in practice. We haven't stopped it yet, so we're still trying to figure out a way to stop it. But a great scheme by Coach Hinsberg and Coach Brady.
Coach, to your right. With Caleb on. I think we've all talked so much about him as an edge rusher. He was real physical at the point of attack against the run Saturday. Is that something that's developed since he's been here, or when you recruited him, did you know that was part of his game?
Well, he's gained some weight, obviously. Caleb is very thick, and he has a great lower body. He has a lot of strength in his lower body, and he's worked hard. And this injury allowed him to get strong in the weight room. Tommy Moffitt has done a tremendous job with this guy. He's very explosive. As you can see, he's all muscles, and the way he played last Saturday night is how we expect him to play.
Coach, where do you think the maturity of your team is in terms of handling everyone telling them they played an amazing game this past week? And like last year when you lost at Florida, you played your best game maybe the next week against Georgia. How do they handle that?
Right. We're about to tell on Saturday night, and I do expect them to play well. This is a mature team. The way they acted yesterday were not giddy. It was a day off for them. We had Tell the Truth Monday. They handled the film very well. We had one of our best Monday practices we ever had. They know the magnitude of this football game, but again, we're not going to make it bigger than life. We've been in big games before, but this is a big game, and they know it.
Head back down here in front. How does being on the road and dealing with that noise kind of change or challenge how the offense operates without huddling?
Well, solid count, obviously. We're going to have some noise on Tuesday and Wednesday. We're going to see how we react to it, see the things that we can do, we can't do. We may have to simplify some things, maybe have some checks that we can't do on the road, can't do on the road. But I think as the game goes on, you can figure out what you can and you can't do.
Ed, right here in the middle. A lot of talk about the linebackers, obviously, but two younger ones, Micah Baskerville and Kendall McCallum, just what you saw from them, and then if you have an update on Sony Fanua and his status.
Yeah, Sony had a little operation on his hand, so he's going to be out for a little while. I think those two young linebackers are going to be good linebackers. They're not at the level of the other guys in front of them, but they're developing.
Coach, over here to your right. Two questions. The offense was so good on Saturday night. Are you curious to see what it can do against the top 10 opponent?
Yeah.
Number one. And number two, of course, Tom Herman's being asked about LSU this week.
Right.
Does that make the game any more different for you, or do you really not care about all of that?
I answer the second one first. Don't care. I mean, I'm happy to be the coach at LSU, and this is about our football players against their football players, so none of that means anything. I am interested in seeing how we protect our quarterback against all these blitzes. I do believe that we have the skill and the knowledge to get people open and to catch the football and make yards after catch, but we do have to protect the quarterback first, and this is going to be a challenge for us.
And it's going to be super hot this week in Austin, and they have a turf field. Are you going to do anything different this week to try to get your team ready for Saturday?
Obviously we've been practicing in the heat, and we're going out there as many times as we can. Today we're going to practice on the grass. Tomorrow we may practice on the turf out in the heat again. Seems like it'd be a pretty nice day out there. But I think I've talked to Louisiana Tech. I talked to them some about the conditions at the stadium, some of the condition on the turf field. I think we're going to be fine.
Ed, you're right. Do you have a comp for Sam Ehlinger, maybe that you prepared against during your time at LSU or before?
Can you say it again?
Do you have a comp? Does he remind you of anybody, Ehlinger, that you've had to prepare for?
He reminds me a little bit of Tebow. And I was at another school and we had to play Tebow. And I'm not saying he's as good as Tebow. I'm not saying he's not, but he reminds me of that type of player, but he's a better thrower.
With Colin Johnson, I guess, how do you go about defending him? Do you kind of assign one guy to him, or do you guys just go side of the field with corners?
Well, that stuff sounds good until they start giving it to the running back and they start mixing a lot of plays, So we're going to have a sound defensive scheme. The one thing I like about Coach Aranda and our defensive staff, we may have gone into last week's game with about 15 different defenses. We used one. So our guys play. And, we're going to go in there and play our base defense. Now, if we need to make adjustments as the game goes on, Coach Aranda always has some answers. So I'm sure there'll be something like that if we need it. But if we can play our base defense and play the things that we play well, that's what we're always going to do that.
Coach, over to your right, up here. Going back to the offense and playing a defense like this, what does need to change? I mean, you guys played really well, obviously, but what does need to change when you face a defense as aggressive as this?
What does need to change when we face a defense?
What different looks do you expect to give your offense playing a defense like this?
Yeah, well, first of all, offense is going to get a lot of blitzes this week. And is that what you asked me?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. Georgia Southern played the same defense we practice every day. And there was not much of a change, so we were used to it. Obviously, there's going to be bigger, better athletes, especially in the linebacker position, the safety position. These guys are phenomenal athletes. I think it's the strength of their team. So they're going to try to probably blitz us most every down, and we have to pick it up.
And you talked about players knowing the magnitude of this game. When you're trying to take that next step and get back to that elite level, how important is it to win a game like this?
You know, it's very important, but there'll be a lot of games down the road that are just as important or more important. So we got to be able to learn how to handle this. You want to be on the big stage at LSU. We are on the big stage, but you know what? It's not going to change our preparation. Today's competition Tuesday. We're going to keep a level head. We're going to go out there and do the best we can today. The same thing the next day. I'm sure when we get on that plane, we're going to be fired up, ready to go. I'm sure they're going to be fired up, ready to go. Team that takes care of the ball, the team that's most physical, is going to win the football game.
Down in front, in your experience, when coaches have kind of a personal and professional history with one another, like Aranda and Herman do, does it affect preparation in any way in terms of trying to make things look different, or does it complicate matters? What is your view of that?
I think that's overrated. I think that what you see on film is what you go after. But I think that every once in a while, I guess there's some internal motivation. But Coach Aranda would never say anything like that. He's the ultimate professional. But I'm sure there's a little internal motivation.
Ed, on your right. Would you mind talking a little bit about Glenn Logan and maybe the camp he had? Because it probably surprised a lot of people that he got the start last week.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I thought Glenn Logan played fantastic. The first play of the game, he had a cutoff block, and it's hard when you get a cutoff block and a dive coming right after you made a tremendous tackle. Glenn Logan did not miss one rep in camp. And I can't say that for any other defensive lineman. And I don't think any other offensive lineman that I know of. So Glenn was very, very sturdy in camp. He's come a long way. He's an excellent lineman right now. He's one of our best linemen. He's a great young man. He doesn't say much. He's a good technician from Destrehan High School. We're proud of him.
Coach, Ensminger said during the summer that there was be a situation where he might go with Brady on a play or something. He would have final say. But, like, how many of Brady's plays got through, you think, Saturday?
A bunch. I thought I was on the headset. They communicated very well. And Steve had an open mind. I thought he called a great game. Joe made some suggestions. Some went through, some didn't. But I think that as the time goes on, those guys share it together. Steve calls it. It's both their ideas. I think they work great together.
Ed, you mentioned the similarities between your offenses and Texas's. How defensively can that help y'all prepare for Ellinger and Johnson, all the things that they can do on that side of the ball?
Yeah, well, you know, we're going to prepare. How are we going to prepare for Ellinger?
How defensively seeing your offense?
Yeah, it helps, but we don't have a scrambling quarterback like that. You know, Joe doesn't scramble that much in practice, and he can scramble, but Ellinger is much more of a running threat than our quarterback is. So those things maybe last week helped us prepare a little bit more. Judge Southern, a running quarterback. He's a different style than Joe. This guy can beat you with his feet, can throw the football, but he's very dangerous, especially in the red zone. They're going to give him the ball, just like they did with Tebow, give him the quarterback power on short yardage, run him on the zone read. So he's a little bit different than our offense in that situation.
You mentioned the quarterback power, what a big part of their offense that is. What did you see in week one from Tyler Shelvin, and how kind of important is he to stopping that?
Yeah. I want to be real careful what I say, okay? Big T played very well. He had a good camp. I thought he played excellent. And now consistency is a big factor with him. He proved to us that that's why we went get him. He was the number one player in the state. He played with tremendous leverage. As we all know, he's an excellent athlete, and he played hard. I think out of 24 plays, he only had 2 loafs, which we grade pretty hard. And he had like an 85% grade on his technique and run. So that was a very good grade for him. But again, now we're going to face a bigger, stronger offensive line, a bigger back, a better quarterback running the football. We'll see how he does in a big-time game. But I do think he's going to do well.
Ed, offensively and defensively, skill players are a little special. Texas had some fancy T-shirts in their pregame with DBU on them. Is that just good motivation for your team?
Yeah.
Do you care one way or the other?
You know, all I know is we LSU. That's all I know.
Coach, on your right, You mentioned the offensive line not giving up any sacks. That was the point of concern coming into the year. What did the film show y'all in terms of what can still be corrected and what you can build upon?
Well, Austin Deckler has played better than he's played, with more consistency. Bedard Char played pretty good. He made some mistakes. Some of the other guys weren't ready. We still have the left guard position still has to get better. Obviously, Lloyd is Lloyd and D-Lou is D-Lou, and they're very consistent. I do believe having Sadiq back this week at left tackle is going to help us. But again, we're going to get tested now. These guys are going to blitz. They're good rushers. They're on the edge. We have to win our one-on-ones, let's say, after this game.
Ed, kind of going back to what you said earlier about talking to a lot of tech people about Texas, do you concern yourself with trying to acclimate your team to playing in a totally place you don't go to every other year like you did in the SEC school, like kind of like when you went to Syracuse in 2015? Or do you try to remind them the field's 100 by 53?
There's not enough time. There's not enough time to talk about it. To go there the day before. We don't do that. We used to go practice the day before and look at the stadium and all. The only way we went to the Cowboys Stadium because it was so unique, and I wanted to see that big Gondola myself before I got distracted. But there's going to be another stadium. There'll be another crowd. We play in those stadiums, and in the SEC we play on turf. We're going to play in the heat, and we have to get used to it. So,
Coach, over here, when players, high school players, see you run that kind of offense and execute that way, how much does that help you in recruiting? And if you were able to do that this Saturday, how much would it help you in recruiting?
Phenomenal. It's on a big stage. They want to see us throwing the football. They want to see us in the shotgun. The quarterbacks love seeing it. The playmakers love getting the ball in their hands. The running backs love it. The offensive linemen love it. And they love seeing you scoring points. So this helps us in recruiting. Obviously, we have an outstanding recruiting class. We have a great group of receivers, a great group of quarterbacks. And after we called all of them this week and said, Coach, that's the offense we wanted to be in, and we're so happy that we are. So it helps us in recruiting. Obviously, Texas is a big area for us in recruiting. So this is going to be a big game for us in recruiting. There's a lot of things going on this weekend that can help us even get a better class.
You mentioned wanting improvement at left guard. I guess how would you grade where that position, that competition's at right now? Is anyone
still some room to go. I think Adrian is the starter. Jason Hines did not have enough practice because he was hurt, and you could tell in the game he's a little rusty. Jason Hines obviously has good athletic ability, but he's got to develop as the season goes.
Coach, I know you said you'll continue to play all 5 running backs. It seemed like on Saturday there was a predetermined order.
Yeah.
Will that continue, or does it go week by week? How do you manage that group?
I would like to use all 5, but it all depends how the game is going. And I try to keep a pulse on that. I wanted these young guys to get in the game. I wanted to get a feel of them. And I wanted them to get in the game without causing any turnovers. I think that's the big reason. I wanted them to get the feeling of a game, see if they can hold on to that football. I thought John's first play was excellent. We all saw his athletic ability when he made that cut. Tyron did good, but, Lennard ran well. And so did Chris Curry when he came in there. We're going to use all 5, but that's going to be a cumulative effect throughout the whole season. We're going to need all 5.
Coach, when a defense is as aggressive as Texas appears to be, can you use that against them, whether it be the screen game?
Yeah, we say feast or famine on blitzes, but, they're zone blitzes, so it's not like they're all out man blitz or zero blitz. They have 3 covers, roll, and all that stuff, so they can protect themselves. It's more or less than 4 or 5 slant one way, slant the other way, but I'm sure that our offensive guys have some things to counteract that.
Coach, can you compare and contrast how much more decisive Joe Burrow was in this season opener as opposed to a year ago against Miami? And what does it mean when you're going to a place like this and you've got a guy like that behind center?
Yeah, night day. Confident. He was on the money. Very well prepared. The lookovers at the line of scrimmage, he knew where to go. And again, all his receivers catching those balls. There's not many balls dropped. Make you have a lot of confidence.
Have you coached in that stadium when you were at USC or anywhere? You haven't coached?
I played Texas one time. Was in the Cotton Bowl out in Miami. That was a long time ago. That was in Dallas. I was at the University of Miami. That was a long time ago. All right, guys. Have a good day.